It's getting hot in here. Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you are having a wonderful day wherever it is you are. Today we're going to talk about air conditioning. Should it be required? Should there be a law? How are we going to handle air conditioning? For those of you who don't know me, my name is John Schenk, and I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty here in St. Louis, Missouri. We have our podcast, Deerwood Realty and Friends. If you like it, you can certainly subscribe. That would help me. That would help the channel. You could also just check out our channel, DeerwoodRealtySTL.com. Today is an interesting topic for me because I told you before I was involved a little bit in property management back in the day, and I just remember how things went. And also, as I do this, I see certain themes that for instance, today is about air conditioning. I think in St. Louis right now it's 97 degrees and it's miserable. The particular article we're going to pull is from Portland, where they have it's 107 degrees and it's like a record heat. You're not going to find in the press a air conditioning should be a law article in the middle of the winter. And so these are the kinds of things that I'm seeing. There's certain months where you're going to see these articles. It's really fascinating. And so let me just get to the article and just know there's articles like this in, the Washington Post and, all over the place. I picked mine out of Portland, Oregon, and it says, headline says, landlord provides tenants with AC while lawmaker considers whether it should be the law. Well, just in the title, lawmakers consider it should be in the law. Isn't that what lawmakers do, is make laws? So basically in the top of the story, it says that there's record temperatures and that Oregon law does not require landlords to provide air conditioning for tenants. And some leases tell renters they're not allowed to put in AC units. So then there's a rental rights attorney, which I didn't know there was such a thing. And he doesn't see anyone pursuing legal action at this time on the tenants getting their own air conditioning. One landlord is getting air conditioning units for his units and passing them out, and he's proud of his work. So that's basically the article. But on a larger sense, let's do this here. On the larger sense, what's the deal? Why don't we have air conditioning in all the units? Well, we don't have air conditioning in all the units because houses in the 20s and buildings in the 20s, they didn't have air conditioning. They didn't even think about it. So they didn't design for that kind of thing. Air conditioning, relatively new, I guess since the 50s. But, it's still an issue. So I'll give you my main thoughts. Unless somebody has lived without air conditioning their whole life, air conditioning is a necessity now. I think the times have changed and we need to just get used to this. Now, regionally, temperatures have changed, and so you have this issue where in some places it wasn't nearly as bad or as nearly as long, so you didn't really need to have air conditioning. But if it gets over 100 degrees and you've always had air conditioning, in St. Louis there are people that don't have air conditioning, and it's miserable here. I don't even want to go outside. So, you just have to have air conditioning. I've grown up with air conditioning and I love it. And I did have a place, we were in Detroit, and we didn't have air conditioning at that place, and it was terrible. Work all day and come home and just nasty heat. And so we got a window unit, and it worked out fine. Cooled down the whole house. So to me, this is an odd argument that we don't need air conditioning. But it's a little bit, the landlord-tenant dynamic is a little different. So I'm going to go over that, what I think. And so my thought is simply that if the unit is rented and it has air conditioning to start, the landlord should be responsible for keeping the air conditioning running during the entire time of tenancy. So, if you've ever rented property, if you've ever leased property, it's like if it can go wrong, it will. So, things will break down. But landlords should always, if you start off your tenancy with air conditioning, then it should be, if the air conditioning goes out, you fix it, you replace the unit, whatever you need to do to keep your tenants in good shape. So that's number one. Number two, there's a bit of a gray area. So I would not restrict someone from ever getting a window unit on their own. And this just seems obvious. If someone wants to get a unit for their own place that they're renting, they should be able to do that. But if you're a tenant and if you get a unit, then you need to tell the landlord in writing that you got the unit, and the maintenance should be on you because it's your appliance. You brought it. That's just the way, that seems to me the way that would make the most sense. But there is a question that comes up that says, who's paying for the additional electricity? So it depends on the lease. If you rent a single family home and you add air conditioning and you're paying the electricity, it's no big deal. As the tenant, you just continue to pay what you've been paying plus the addition of the energy that you use. If you're a landlord and you you're paying the electricity and you don't factor in increased electricity usage from the air conditioning over the summer, that's on you. So it doesn't have to be a gray area, but we can certainly make it a gray area if we try. One thing I've noticed that you kind of have to be careful of is in a unit. Let's say you've had this unit for 10 years, and the first tenants brought an air conditioner and then took it with them when they left. Well, that was their air conditioner. It's fine. But then say you put in an air conditioner on the next tenant, and then the tenant took it with him. Well, that's not so good. But what are we talking about with expense here? And should you just go ahead and have the air conditioner anyway, the unit anyway, available for the tenants? I think it's a no-brainer. I just don't understand why you wouldn't have air conditioning in a unit in 2021. It just doesn't make sense to me, depending on where you live. Of course, there's some places that are beautiful all year long and you don't need air conditioning. So, do I think that there should be a law that requires air conditioning? I don't think so. Here's how I think it should work. I think renters should look for places to live that have air conditioning already and rent those places over the ones that don't. That would force the landlords to provide air conditioning or lose occupancy of the unit. I reject this notion that people are forced to live places. Like, you should choose where you live. So, let's say you live in a terrible area. You should leave. It's a terrible area. I do not believe that people are stuck in one place. Now, you say economically they can't move or something like that. Well, at some point they made a decision to move there, or someone made a decision for them to move there. And you should just look for places with air conditioning. If they don't have it, or you should ask about it. Ask about it before you move in. I mean, it may not be the most obvious question, but it's something that I think, would pay off while you're renting the unit. Finally, I reject the game of knowingly renting a unit that doesn't have air conditioning for a lower rate than one that does, and then complaining about it, calling your lawmaker, that kind of stuff. Rental rates exist for a reason. I think people get tricked when they want to make a law about something in a case like this. People aren't stupid. They know what they're doing. And I do believe that 100%. So it's one thing to rent a unit that doesn't have air conditioning, have no idea, and compare it to a unit that does. Okay? But it's a whole nother to say this unit costs $700 a month, this unit costs $600 a month. One has air conditioning, one doesn't. I'll take the one for $600, and when it gets summer out, I'm just going to complain and moan and cause all kinds of problems. and say we need to create a law because we don't have air conditioning. Now, is that the popular opinion? I don't know. I suspect it depends on your perspective. So if you're right now sitting in a unit and it's 100 degrees and you just watched my YouTube video about tenants should be responsible for their air conditioner, it shouldn't be a law, you probably think differently than a landlord who's thinking about he's going to have to buy or she's going to have to buy 100 different, 100 units for 100 air conditioning units for their places that they're renting out. So it just depends on your perspective, I suspect. But what do you think about the concept that there should be a law requiring air conditioning in units in 2021? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's silly? What do you think? I'd love to get your opinion. Put it in the comments below. Send me an email, media@deerwoodrealtysdl.com, or give me a call, leave me a voicemail, 314-274-3964. That's all I have for today. I hope to learn from you and see what you guys think. And I will catch you on the next one.